Today's review: a smartly designed extraction shooter marred by one inexcusable decision. It uses a little bit of AI, so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. But here's my Concord review: a hero shooter that nails the shooting but fumbles the heroes. But it's still better than Arc Raiders. 3 out of 5 stars. My name is Rick Lane, and I approve this message.
That's because you're stupid.
What is up, Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the endlessly edgy Dr. Disaster, and Arc Raiders had itself an interesting past few days. On a positive note, the game hit a brand new high on its concurrent player count on Steam over this past weekend, going up by over 100,000 players.
Yes! That's awesome!
Yeah, they're now up over 450,000 concurrent players at the max concurrent player count for Steam. It's pretty rare that a game ends up doing that during its second weekend, going up like that, even for a multiplayer game. Usually a game just gradually dwindles in player count after the initial burst of the launch weekend. However, this sort of thing can happen if you have a tremendous word of mouth among players working in your favor, which Arc Raiders definitely has. The gaming community has largely played this game and said, "Yummy!" Arc Raiders is currently the top seller on Steam right now, a couple of weeks after release, and what makes that even more impressive is that Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is coming out in just a few days. I'm not sure if that is an indictment of Black Ops 7, which is sure to be a smaller seller than the average Call of Duty title, or if that is a testament to how well Arc Raiders has performed. I imagine this is a bit of both. But as of right now, on Steam alone, Arc has sold over 3 million units in just a couple weeks. Meanwhile though, the game finally got enough attention that the game journalists felt obligated to actually review it. At first, its Metacritic score was well above 90, putting it neck and neck with Clair Obscur Expedition 33, but now it is sitting at an 84 of 100 because one reviewer decided to tank it with a really low review.
Personally, I think you're a idiot.
Yeah, if you read this review, which comes from Eurogamer, you can see that the problem that they have with the game is the fact that it uses AI voice generation because these idiots at Eurogamer are on a moral crusade against AI, apparently. So, as usual, game journalists are putting their own personal biases in the way of presenting an unbiased opinion. And while I have certainly been talking about how I don't want this game to win the Game of the Year award because I believe Clair Obscur deserves that crown, I certainly don't like that Arc Raiders' chances were damaged by a trash outlet like Eurogamer, which has no business being a part of such a conversation. I would like to tell them what I really think of these dingleberries, but excuse me for a second here, I've got to sneeze.
Achoo!
Alright me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel. Almost every day I hear from someone who says that they didn't believe me when I talked about this phenomenon, but then they noticed that they themselves were unsubbed from the channel. I don't know why it happens, but I hear it a lot. So check into that and hit the notification bell while you're at it. Anyways, let's read about this negative review which really tanked the overall score of Arc Raiders. If you look at the Metacritic score right now, they are at an 84. But prior to this, the game was over the 90 threshold, which I would suggest is a critical threshold in order for them to have any kind of a case to be considered Game of the Year and compete with Clair Obscur. Now remember, I am not advocating for that to be the case. I am not advocating for Arc Raiders to win it. My vote is 100% for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. But what you have to understand about me is that I simply love the discussion. I'm the guy who loves to have passionate conversations about this sort of thing. I'm the guy who, if I'm out at the bar with my buddies as a football fan, I'm starting up a conversation about who the greatest quarterback of all time is. Love him or hate him, it's Tom Brady, of course, by the way. Or I'm starting a conversation about which is better, pie or cake. And as much as I love pie, the answer is clearly cake. But I liked the fact that Clair Obscur and Arc Raiders were pretty close in their review score until Eurogamer came along. Here is where Clair Obscur is at right now with a 92 critic score and a 9.6 user score. Arc Raiders is now getting blown out of the water by Clair Obscur on both critic and user scores, so in my mind, the conversation, what little was meant to be had, is now over. And the worst part, as I pointed out, is that Eurogamer doesn't even have a legitimate gripe about the game, just some whining about AI. If you read their little blurb here for the game on Metacritic, it sounds like they like the game a lot, but their prejudice causes them to negatively score it. They wrote, "Rich PvE combat and an unusually friendly community makes Arc Raiders a more approachable extraction shooter than most, but Embark Studios' continued use of AI voice generation is a black mark against its reputation." Well, I hate to break it to these dimwits at Eurogamer, because clearly they sound like the sort of people who are very concerned about being replaced by AI, likely because they are talentless hacks whose work can easily be replicated by a few AI prompts. But AI is not going anywhere in gaming or in any industry. It is a tool that will continue to be used as time goes on. You don't have to like that fact, and frankly, AI scares the hell out of me, as it should everyone. But I use AI all the time in my work when putting together images for my thumbnails, as an example, or for researching topics. It is a valuable tool, and if you don't embrace it to some degree and get comfortable with it, you're going to fall behind everyone else. The only problem I ever have with AI is if someone tries passing off AI art as their own without letting anyone know it was AI generated. But that is not the case with Arc Raiders. They didn't try to hide that they used it, and the voice actors were fine with their voices being replicated by an AI program. So, I truly fail to see the problem. But let's read what this Dingleberry said about the game. You can see at the bottom there that the writer's name is Rick Lane, and if you look here, you can see that he actually scored Concord ahead of Arc Raiders, giving it a 3 out of 5 stars, whereas Arc Raiders got 2 out of 5 stars. Keep that in mind as we read this. The dude actually believes that Concord is the superior game. And let's just be perfectly blunt about why these games were scored this way. Concord was a Sony release, so the dude had to give it a passing grade. Arc Raiders is from a small studio, so the dude finds an excuse to shit all over it. Anyhow, the headline of the article makes it clear once again that the only problem the writer had with the game was AI. It says, Arc Raiders review, a smartly designed extraction shooter marred by one inexcusable decision. The dude spends 14 paragraphs of his article explaining why Arc Raiders is awesome, and then he starts writing here, like Embark's previous shooter, The Finals, Arc Raiders displays considered design. Also like the Finals, this design is overshadowed by the specter of AI. Arc Raiders uses machine learning algorithms for its arc animations and text-to-speech based performances generated from the voices of real actors. While I am deeply skeptical of AI use in game development, it's important to emphasize the nuances at play here. For starters, these two techniques are not the same, while Embark has further argued that TTS is different from generative AI tools like ChatGPT, certainly machine learning is not a new technology in video games, experimented with by developers at least since the black and white days. The animation of the arcs, how they adapt to environments and react to being shot, are based on similar principles to black and white's creature AI. Embark has attempted to create emergent behaviors in its enemies through reinforcement learning, enabling them to both move and react to terrain and player behavior in highly realistic ways. It's an interesting technology, and the effects it produces during matches are undeniably convincing. The same cannot be said about Embark's generated voice lines, which are aggressively mediocre and a stain on the experience. While speaking characters are mostly limited to traders, though player characters also vocalize emotes and pings during matches, when you do speak with them, their voices are flat and emotionally blunted, aside from the occasional bizarre inflection that reveals their robotic roots. And let's just be clear, prior to this whiny turd talking about it and tanking the review score of the game, nobody had a problem with this at all. I didn't hear anybody talking about AI being used in this game. I literally hadn't heard anyone discuss this supposed problem. Basically, that was the gist of the article though, this guy preaching to us about why AI is immoral, meaning that we simply did not get an objective review score. And naturally, people absolutely brutalized this article in its comment section, but my favorite response was from Asmongold, who responded to their post of the review on X. He said, "It will be a wonderful day when I get to farm your company because they do layoffs. You know it's coming, everyone knows it, you're going home soon." And funny enough, the layoffs will likely be because AI has replaced the talentless hacks at an outlet like Eurogamer. It simply isn't difficult to replicate their writing because their opinions are so damned irrelevant to the writing. Look at the Eurogamer score for Dragon Age the Veilguard last year. They gave the damn thing a 100 out of 100. You already know that if a game is bland corporate slop, they're going to find a way to pretend like they love it. And if it's anything else, they will score it almost arbitrarily. There is no value in a score from a game journalist. So this is why so many of these dolts are being laid off. People aren't reading this pointless drivel any longer, and you can't blame them. When Arc Raiders, a game that is being talked about as Game of the Year, I don't agree with it, but it isn't so absurd that I'm laughing it off either. The game is pretty awesome, but when a potential Game of the Year candidate is being scored lower than Concord, a game so bad that it was literally laughed right out of the market, well, the opinions of these people just don't matter clearly, and you can understand why they'd feel so raw about the technology that is going to replace their very cushy and pointless jobs. But I'm going to leave it there. Drop your contempt for these game journalists into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.